The views and opinions expressed by the guests of Sasquatch Experience do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the hosts, sponsors, or affiliates of the Sasquatch Experience. As always, listener discretion is advised.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Does a legend walk among us, lurking in the forests of our world?
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my sensor light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. Looks like a man. I don't know what it was.
For over 15 years, we've talked with scientists, researchers, investigators, and witnesses, trying to gain insight and proof around the existence of this mysterious entity.
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sure.
Dia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Join us as we continue into the investigation of the Sasquatch Experience.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sasquatch Experience.
I'm Sean the Pork Chop Forker. That's Vance Nesbitt. That's Henry May. James Baker down in the bottom, and Matt Arner rounding out our crew. And tonight, as you can see, episode 107. Skeptically speaking, we're going to take the skeptical position tonight, folks. No, you don't need the Kama Sutra for that one. But we're going to talk about... going to give a viewpoint.
You won't take it in the butt.
You may learn one. That's foul. And folks, that's James Baker. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show. Guys, it's been a couple weeks. How the hell are you?
Good.
We're good.
I had a birthday. I saw dinosaurs. Henry didn't die by hurricane or tornado or southern disaster.
Nope.
Henry, what were you saying? You were going to say something there, and Baker stepped on you with a dinosaur.
It's been cooler here lately.
Cooler.
Yeah, that's nice for the residents of Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good that you're here with us tonight. Very nice. We are having a little issue. I'll say it. It's on my end with whatever's going on with the internet. It's affecting me, which will affect the other hosts, so I apologize in advance. But we will press on. Guys, just a few housekeeping notes. We got a hell of a lot of events coming up in the next couple weeks. For instance, this weekend, believe it or not, Pocatello, Idaho, July 26th through the 27th, SasquatchPrints.com presents the Bigfoot Rendezvous. Go to squatchprints.com or call 208-251-2005 for tickets and information. Great speakers such as Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Mark Marcel from the Ape Canyon, and more. $30 is 2 days, and it's a great event coming up again. Like I said, this weekend, Pocatello, Idaho. Vance, anything you want to add on that? Because I know you've been promoting it pretty heavy.
No, I've got promotions coming up on our news break. So, we'll just pat Eric Altman on the back and keep that one going.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we are just a couple weeks away from the second annual Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot and Cryptid Festival held on August 3rd in Elysburg, Pennsylvania, Memorial Park Avenue, with many vendors and speakers. The festival's free. Speakers are $10, and it's limited to 250 tickets. Get them today. Go to centralpabigfoot.com or gotknockers.org for more information. And I'm understanding, Vance, gotknockers.org is back up and running.
Yay.
Our sponsors for the show. So.
Yay.
Oh, it's been something else. I'm sorry. Got a little bit of a pause there because I just used a great amount of wind to promote these events. But guys, you want to promote your event on our show, email us info@sasquatchexperience.com. Vance and I will make sure they get hit to the air. Matt, how have you been? You've been the one that's been a little bit more absent than most. You've been out and about doing things. How's life treating you, brother?
It's treating me pretty good. Yeah, I've been trying to get up the mountains. We were just up in Elk County over the weekend for the yard sale, and we were trying to get some people to talk about Bigfoot up there, but a lot of people that were just tight-lipped right now. So right now is not the best time to be trouncing in the woods up there, thanks to all the rattlesnakes and everything else that are going on up there. But you know, we're going to be out in the woods very soon, so looking forward to it.
Steve, we don't condone anybody missing weddings, but as Baker says, maybe you'll catch the next one, because you know that's optimism right there from James Baker, folks. He's here all week. Tip your waitress. But we've got a great show planned for you guys tonight. As I said at the top, we got Jay Michael in the house as well. Jay, how you doing, our friend? You can go check out the Jay Michael Show on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else. I was a guest on there. It's a good program. Jay has been broadcasting longer than I've been on planet Earth, and he actually had an interview with one of my favorite actors, Peter Jurasik, on the program. So go take a listen to the Jay Michael Show on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you can stream. He's there. Like us, we're streaming everywhere.
Yeah, we're streaming. All right.
So guys, this is what spurred the interest in this conversation for me. I've been kind of Facebook lurking a lot lately, just going through the different. We got Lori, our good Patreon supporter, Lori. Thanks for joining us, love. We appreciate you being here. I've been trolling around in the Facebook groups, and the Bigfoot community in a whole really getting slammed for our lack of skepticism. And I think we've all had this conversation with one another about how at times it appears the inmates are running the asylum, that we could use a dose of skepticism and critical thinking. And it's getting to the point now where, we're not having a lot of allies out there across the aisle. And, this isn't even a political game. This is a Bigfoot game. But we can't just seem to get people to, think a little harder about not just the existence of Bigfoot, but evidence, photographs, videos. They're not going out and doing critical thinking. They're not going out and chasing down and seeing if anybody's talked about this stuff before. There's videos that have been popping up. I was talking to Matt Knapp, he and I from Bigfoot Crossroads. He and I had a very long conversation about people not even just doing the basic legwork to determine the validity of a photograph or video that you could tell is not recent, but they've done no historical research on it.
Right.
And so they prop up and have these arguments, and we spend time arguing with asshole and idiots who think it's the next great thing to the Patterson Gimlet film. And the fact of the matter is, because we're the old heads, and Henry's laughing because because we've probably been part of the people that have debunked it over the last 20 years. We know it's not real. However, it's not stopping this wave of maybe it's an enthusiasm, a blind enthusiasm that's just promoting every piece of Bigfoot paraphernalia just popping up on the internet.
It's true.
Go,
there is a photo that's come up again, which has been debunked in the past, but yet it still comes back up. It's supposed to be a baby Bigfoot photo. It looks like a stuffed doll.
Is it a stuffed doll?
Most likely it is a stuffed doll.
We got our friend Jeff Thomas posting in the chat. Jeffrey R. Thomas, of course, you can go check him out also on Facebook. I'm a shameless shill, folks. If we've got our famous friends in here popping in, I'm going to promote them.
Because I want to bring up Jeff Thomas after the news break.
Okay.
So he's going to have to stick around for that.
Oh, look at
But
that.
going on what you just said, Henry, there's, again, okay, I don't have the picture here, but there is one that this is one of the best photographs of Bigfoot ever. And it looks like it's sitting with its back to the camera, leaning on one arm, sitting on the ground. What I clearly see, no, that's not what that is. That's a bear itching its neck with its butt in the air. And you see its hind leg, assuming it's an arm. That is a bear. But, there we go again. No, this is the best. Please, don't call it the best until there's that definitive evidence that it is the best, and it's not.
I think.
Go ahead, Bake. I'll jump in when you're finished.
I think the big problem, and this is the conversation I have all the time, is people go out in the woods and they see these things and they must assess it as that one thing, and they focus on what it has to be, not what the evidence proves.
Right.
And I've always said that I believe the stories people give me unless they start bloating the story. Like I was at the Mothman presentation. We just talked about Jeffrey Thomas when he's explaining to me about his sighting, and he's up on stage explaining it. He doesn't add 50 items to it. He's like, I think I saw something. I'm not 100% sure what it was. If I would have been not alone and that somebody could have told somebody where I was or made sure that I got back, I would have ran after this thing. But he didn't say, I clearly saw this thing, and then an alien came down, and we almost had a baby, you know. But here's the thing is, like, if you listen to the people, like, the one thing I hate the word is experts, because if you talk to the people that I respect, and I always respect people like Lauren Coleman, I know I get crap for that, but Jeff Meldrum, I respect Cliff Barrickman, because when I've talked to the people, I respect Sean. When I talk to the people, oh my God, is that Chaka?
That's it right there.
Yeah.
Is that Chaka?
That's the baby Bigfoot photo.
That's Landon Lost Chaka. Just let it go, man. All right.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
But the people that I talk to at all these conferences at different spots never say they're experts, say that they're learning about something. And they even admit, I've had conversations and they even admit that they understand that 50% of what they're talking about is guessing and myth. Okay. They're not saying I'm 100% sure this track is this. Even like I respect Eric. Eric found a really nice tracks, but even him at the bottom, he said, this has all the telltale signs, but I want to make sure before I say I put 100% of my basket in, this must be this.
Right.
And those kind of people I respect compared to the one that's like, oh no, it comes over every Tuesday and we have pie. No, it doesn't. Stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah, there are no experts.
And I'll say that they're on a thing that you can't touch.
Yep.
Right.
There are experts. There are experts in primatology. There's experts in biology, ecology. Those are experts that help us in the field. But there's no one here, no one on Earth right now that you can say is a Bigfoot expert. The closest thing you have is like Dr. Jeff is studying, the anthropology with the locomotion of primates. And that includes a big spectrum of animals. Again, primatology does include that, but to say that you're an expert in something that has yet to be proven to exist is a fallacy at this point.
You have people lending their expertise in the field of study to a subject for scientific purposes, right? Like, and that's the differentiator.
Yeah.
And so when I start seeing the terms like expert, and listen, we've all been on different podcasts where the host or the promotional people who promoted a Bigfoot expert. Like, I can assure you, none of us put that in our bios, and we're putting that out to people to shop around for gigs. It's just something that was, something done to attract interest.
It's a clickbait thing, right?
It is. Half the headlines for Bigfoot shows are clickbait.
Right.
Clickbait
right.
now. And it's just not something that, I want to partake in and participate in. Kaiju Ninja says if there was a Jane Goodall equivalent in a Bigfoot field, then maybe. Right. And, that's the problem. We do lack, we lack a body, for one, right? And I think when you start looking into the skeptical argument, there is an importance to skepticism. It helps advance the knowledge. It challenges assumptions that are made. It really makes us, push harder to collect better evidence and think critically. But do you not think there's also a subset of skeptics that are just as worse as true believers?
Hell yeah.
That they're just so based off their dogma that they won't concede the point. And I'll tell you,
I'm biting
I've
my
seen
tongue.
this. I've seen this firsthand over the weekend. And, for a lot of groups out there that promote the skepticism and they talk about, there's a lot of ad hominem attacks that happen to the people that are making these claims on the collective whole of the research. They can't even make an argument without making it a physical attack. Bigfooters are fat and stupid. Well, some of us are fat. We like to eat and we like to take road trips. That's right. But some bitch, you call me stupid, I'll kick you in the nuts because you'll see how quick I can lift my fat ass and kick you in the nuts. Just be careful. Like, I really think that's the fallacy. Like, to me, I would be more inclined to want to talk to skeptics if they could do it without the vitriol.
Right. Right. And you know what? A lot of times, Sean, I've noticed, because I have conversations just with general public, not that I do this 24/7, but I'll have a conversation and I get a skeptic. I learn a lot from the skeptic because they'll throw me a couple of ideas going, wow, I really never thought of that aspect of it before. A lot of skeptics say, well, there's no body, there's no evidence, and nobody's found one yet. I get that. That's just kind of the dome covering the entire subject. But some people have brought up some really interesting points that I'm like, well, I never thought of that before. And this is why I think the skeptic is really important in this entire field and research and the discussion that we're having in the arena of ideas.
So what I always believe, and the fact is that I know that I come off as a skeptic, and I am, but I'm not. My big concern is that if tomorrow they found out that there was a certain kind of bear that had a cleft toe, and only 1 in 300 bears had that cleft toe, and it left a specific print that we've been looking at for years. Okay, and it walked a little bit more on its hind legs because of the way the toe structure was. Okay, and that, if we found that bear existed and we could see it. Now, if somebody's been following some of the researchers, they always say that for every 300 bears, there's one Sasquatch. That's where I got the number. But if you think about it, then you could say, okay, this could be this or this couldn't be that. But like, if Matt tomorrow found a track, you want somebody skeptical to go through it with Matt, and Matt's also going to go through it in his head going, okay, this track was here. These are the animals I know are in the direct area. These are the animals that it could be. These are the animals that definitely couldn't be. And then he's going to break it down to the most core part to see what it could be or couldn't be. And then maybe he'll call me and go, hey, what do you think? And I'll go, well, did you ask these critical questions too? Or he'll call Sean. Okay. But the thing is, it's not, I think where we get fighting, and we always get fighting, especially in communities as they are, is when someone attacks the possibility of your evidence, you take it personally instead of looking at it scientifically. Like, I've never attacked anybody on them personally. I've looked at what they showed me, and then I told them to stop circling pieces of paper. Okay, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you make a valid point there, but because it also to the point where there's no unity in what the acceptance of evidence is, and then when someone brings us evidence that's just not good enough, and we say that evidence isn't good enough, then it becomes well, you don't like me, you don't like my evidence, it's just garbage and I'm stupid. No, nobody said that. What we said is that this particular evidence that you brought to us is just not good enough. Does that sting? Absolutely. But does that make it untrue? No. Does it make it it makes it, a fallacy of the scientific process when we're just going to accept anything and everything because we feel it's evidence, not that it's actual evidence or that it's good enough to actually do something with. We could go out there and take 4,200 impressions that we find in the ground. Matt, you and I were out in the woods and we started seeing impressions, and we followed the impressions all the way up until we got to something that we said, you know what? This has now translated from an impression in the ground to a footprint.
Yes.
And our conclusion was, this is a bear.
Yes.
And it's a pretty nice size one. Mm-hmm. But we could have looked at those footprints at the beginning and said, oh my God, here we go, Bigfoot prints.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because that's what we wanted them to be. So they can't be anything else. They have to be Bigfoot. Yeah. And so we follow these. We don't follow the footprints. We just take the first 2 or 3 that we see. And if we would have just followed it to the logic, to the conclusion where they stopped, we got to the answer just by following, basic principles.
Here.
Following the yellow brick road.
Mm-hmm. We just had a black bear in central Illinois. And I can guarantee at some point that's going to happen, and there's going to be a Bigfoot report of tracks in central Illinois. And here there's, the camera traps and the Ring doorbell pictures. And with this black bear, they're not common in central Illinois, but I can guarantee it's going to happen. Somebody is going to file a report, and I'm going to keep my eyes completely peeled and say, let's go back to the whole bear thing. It's a good point.
But, and I think, like I said, is where I think we have to draw the line is look at what, you can't be gung-ho on both sides. You have to, science requires skeptics because otherwise we would be testing harmful things on us all the time to try to cure some disease and cause 6 other ones.
Right.
You gotta have somebody else that goes, no, dude, that won't work. Hey, let's not shoot heroin into your system and say that'll fix cancer. Yeah. Let's not do that. Okay, let's just not.
Might make fun, treatment a little bit more enjoyable, but no, I know what you mean. That's a good point.
I mean, but you think about it is you always have to have a secondary group. Mm-hmm. The one thing I don't like about is, and Sean kind of brought it up, is the true believers and the skeptics. If you believe so much, then believe. That's fine. If you don't think my evidence is good enough, that's fine. Then walk away. If I think that Bigfoot was never real and that it's imaginary and everybody's crazy, then I need to walk away and let you guys do your own thing. Hey, you're the one spending the money on trinkets and crap. Right. I can go over and go do something else. But it's the ones that are virulently show up at Ohio Bigfoot and go, I don't even know why I'm here. This is so stupid. You guys are idiots. You know what? You paid $130 to give me an opinion I don't effing care about.
All right. Yeah. No, this is.
It's like these people that go. It's like these people go to rallies and go, oh, I hate you, or go to some person's concert that they hate. I paid $225 to Taylor Swift. She can suck my whatever. I'm like, so you paid $225 for her. To her, later on, she's going to be, eating lobster and hanging out on your $225, so you could maybe get a chance to argue with the great one that you hate. Yeah, you're wasting a lot of time.
Well, folks, if you're listening, we are accepting Patreon support, and our earnings for as little as $2 a month, we can send James Baker to a Taylor Swift concert. So.
She will never forget it. I'll Swifty that right up.
Man, we
Oh, God.
derailed like in Palestine, Ohio.
Oh,
Holy
my
cow,
God.
how did this
Oh,
Oh,
Ooh.
but you know what? I think though I've had my own experiences that have allowed me to craft my viewpoint, I'm still very skeptical about most of what's fed to me
Yes.
or positioned to me.
Yes.
And what I get irritated about is this constant this noodling or needling from skeptics
Noodling.
that say we're not skeptical enough, and I just totally disagree with that. And so, like when we're talking about some of these things, we've been advocates for a long time for the standard of evidence to be better and for us to be more selective and to educate ourselves to collect better evidence. We just need folks to join us from that other side of the table and help us create that.
Right.
You know, instead of shooting your mouth off, why don't you be part of the solution instead of part of the problem?
Right.
Volunteer your time and services.
Can I interject just a real quick question to the panel here? Do you think for each day that goes by and 2 weeks from now is going to be a little bit different, that, you know, actual sighting reports become more minimal only because of the fact of our expansion into these areas and into the research, where maybe if the creature is real, is becoming more and more and more elusive till it's an extinct being?
At some point, it can only be so elusive. And to the point Baker says, either it's incredibly smart, has abilities that we aren't able to comprehend or detect, or it doesn't exist.
Right.
And that's a sad realization.
Okay,
But, you know, Baker has said that for years.
Yeah, and I agree with the statement that we've been using quite a bit lately. Think Bigfoot last.
Mm-hmm.
What were you thinking about it?
I thought Henry was going to talk. I didn't want to.
Mr. Swig.
Well, that's the thing. I can't take credit for Think Bigfoot Last. Shelley Covington, Montana came up with that. I'm just
Really?
kind of
I'm so mad at you. Let's keep talking, Henry, while I get through this anger.
No, but yeah, that's the thing. You have to think Bigfoot last. You can't go out and say, well, this track is obviously made by a Sasquatch. You have to cast it, photograph it, and send the cast off if you can, or make a copy of it, send it to Dr. Meldrum, see what he thinks.
Right.
Scott posts, it was Amy Boo herself described as a hopeful skeptic during a presentation, and think of what she's doing in the field. It's a really good point. Kaiju Ninja, should we call it evidence though, or data? And that's a good point. We probably should call it data until it's sufficient enough where we could decide it's evidence, or somebody decides that it's evidence quality. J. Michael, you have to be skeptical towards your own experience 100%. I agree with that to no end. I think when we stop processing and questioning what we experienced, we go into that danger zone of true believer. And I call that a danger zone because a true believer, the tendency is to stop critically thinking and that everything and anything is Bigfoot. And that's not the case. And 9 times out of 10, that becomes where we spend the majority of our time focusing on that bullshit, as opposed to that 1% we need to be out, that we could be missing real data.
Right.
Because we're spending time arguing about stuff that we just know, wanting to believe something and it being in existence are two distinctly different things. And we have to be smarter than this, and we have to start coming up with some standards. There's some great organizations out there, the NABRC, the NAWAC, the Olympic Project. What we're going to be launching up here in Pennsylvania, Matt, with Darby Orcutt. There's a lot of people involved in this endeavor now that are really trying to come up with a new standard. Doug Hychik, when Legend Meets Science 2 comes out, there's going to be a whole new ways to collect this data, collect these samples. That's just going to be marvelous. Things that we didn't have 10 years ago. Then how many of us have taken that time to grow and learn ourselves to be able to understand and collect and do this new type of evidence collection?
Right.
And that's what it's going to come down to, is you're going to have to, because we've had how many conversations with people that they've spent months, weeks, years in a certain location because they thought they saw something, and then they show you this bag of evidence, and you don't want to hurt their feelings because it is their baby. You call it whatever you want, but it's their, they've been believing this for years. They're hyped up. They're excited to show you, and then you go, well, dude, that's a dog hair. And by the way, that's a circle and a tree stump. You've been wasting 3 years of your life when, maybe you could look somewhere else, and I can see where it hurts people, but sometimes unfortunately in life, somebody has to explain to you that you're wasting your time. And it does, you don't have to be mean about it, but at the same time, you got to be realistic, or at least what you've got to do is say, that's really nice. Bless your heart. And then move on to somebody else. That way, then you're not wasting your time with them. We're going to take our break here real quick, guys. But Kaiju Ninja, once again, I think there would be less skeptics if more new data were presented. Not the same stuff such as footprints, hair, audio, etc. We can call that data, but we need something more than that. And I think that's the bottom line on that. We're going to take our mid-show break here, folks. Stick around. You're listening to the Sasquatch Experience on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, anywhere you can stream Instagram right now. We're also live. We'll see you in just a few moments, folks. Stay tuned.
Like, one thing I've never understood is like the foot fetish. Like, are you guys together right here? Yeah? How long you guys been together? 5 years. 5 years, wow. Do you ever suck on her feet? No? Would you if you had a different girlfriend?
Yes. I think it might be a cool idea to have a little subgroup here at the Sasquatch Experience called The Foot Fetish. Maybe that'll be our movie night name. The Foot Fetish is gonna watch a movie. Sean's over here smacking himself in the head. It's my show, dude. Stop making stuff up. Anyway, happy Monday night to you all. I hope you're having an enriched Monday night and a past week. And I was going through certain newspapers to find articles, and hey, I came across this from the New York Post last week. And the headline reads, "Terrified teens spot Bigfoot with glowing eyes in a Louisiana forest. Call 911 for rescue." Now, the article goes on to say a group of terrified teenagers called police in a panic after they claimed they ran into a growling Bigfoot-like creature with glowing eyes, officials said. The recent high school graduates from Houma in southern Louisiana were camping in the Kisatchie National Forest. Kisatchie National Forest is about 100 miles northwest of Baton Rouge when they reported a chilling encounter last week, according to the Natchitoches, these big words, boy, I'm telling you, Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's Office. They recalled seeing a large animal that resembled Bigfoot shortly after they set up camp about 1.5 miles off the Backbone Trail in southern Natchitoches Parish, according to police. Around 9:20 p.m. on June 28th, one member of the group, who were all 17 and 18 years old, called 911 after they reportedly heard a growl and saw what appeared to be an animal that had glowing eyes and stood about 5 feet tall, according to the sheriff's office. Deputies responded to the scene and walked to the campsite, vigilant for any mythological creatures. They followed the sound of the teens' whistles to the campsite and found the teens frightened but unharmed, and they were safely escorted out of the forest by deputies. Despite a thorough investigation, deputies were unable to locate any suspicious activity involving a growling creature with glowing eyes standing 5 feet tall. This is not the first Bigfoot sighting in the Kisatchie National Forest. Two self-proclaimed Bigfoot researchers who only provided their names as Tex La and Claude to avoid ridicule claimed in 2019 they had a visual and audio evidence of the cryptid's existence in the dense 600,000-acre woods. When we come back, we'll keep pounding that same thing in your head over and over until you go.
You're listening to the Bigfoot Bullhorn right here on the Sasquatch Experience.
Hey, so if I sound familiar, it's 'cause it's me, Vance, from the Sasquatch Experience. And all of us would love you deeply if you would stop by Squatch Pro Shop and get yourself a Sasquatch Experience t-shirt of vintage times gone by or a new print style. And while you're there, check out the Yeti Company tumbler mug with the official Sasquatch Experience logo laser etched not only on one side but on both. Buy one mug for the price of two and receive the second mug absolutely free. Just visit SasquatchExperience.com and visit Squatch Pro Shop. Thank you. Fundraiser returns in 2024. Join them for 2 days of fun and adventure and help raise funds for local area charities. See well-known cryptozoologists and guest speakers. Attend workshops and talk to television personalities. And best of all, the night hikes are back, along with music by Sasquatch Karaoke DJ Entertainment, food trucks, vendors, and silent auctions. Whether you're a believer or simply intrigued by the unknown, the Bigfoot Festival at Benner's Meadow Run promises a memorable experience for all. You can contact Eric Altman at PABigfootCampingAdventure.com. Again, PABigfootCampingAdventure.com. Thanks again for listening to this edition of the Bigfoot Bullhorn right here on the Sasquatch Experience. And as always,
until we meet again,
keep your toes in the mud.
We will not be using the foot fetish as any type of marketing for this program. Good evening, folks. Welcome back. Sasquatch Experience, Sean Fulker, Vance Nesbitt, Henry May, James Baker, and Matt Arner. As we've been talking about here, at least for the last about 20 minutes, we have been talking about the skeptical viewpoint, right? Mm-hmm. Skeptically speaking, and how we need to inject a little bit more skepticism into what we're doing. But I think, again, we have to reiterate, we're not talking about those, dogmatic, naysayers. It's, we want people to really, truly embrace the skepticism for what it is, and the spirit of skepticism, which is respectfully challenging and critiquing, adding input and, disproving assumptions, not the, ad hominem attacks and the, just stagnant positions they take, where the firm positions where it just cannot be because I say so.
Mm-hmm.
I think that takes just as much evidence as us, trying to prove its existence. And then again, you have the true believers. While we were on our little news break there, just catching up on some comments, J. Michael, I know what I saw, but there's no way I can translate that experience to. It's actually a good segue into our next topic. Carlene says, I think it's the same for everything. A skeptic is a future believer who still needs to have their questions answered or needs to see more evidence. I don't want to say a future believer, but somebody I think who maybe has the potential to be encouraged and have their mind changed. Have their mind changed by the evidence, right? So all very good comments there. But as Jay says, it's hard for him to translate his experience. Now, again, we look at one of the things we tote as one of the principal foundations on the existence of Bigfoot, guys, eyewitness accounts. And Matt, I really want your input on this because you have a law enforcement background, but often cited as evidence, but accounts are not reliable and therefore not scientifically convincing. Human perception is easily fooled, so it's difficult to rely on what people say they see, especially if they already have belief. So you're influencing your own, mind of what you've seen. But, then again, when we look at this, and Matt, I'll let you give your viewpoint, we rely on eyewitness testimony a lot in our legal system.
We do.
So how do we translate that to some workable piece of data collection in science?
Sure. Well, if you have an eyewitness for a crime, the first thing that you need to show is a crime did actually occur. So the mini mart was robbed. You can show that the mini mart was robbed. There's a mini mart store, and that the person that went in, we have an eyewitness that can identify that person. For the most part, it's you can say that we are all human beings, so that we exist. So we know that A, the store was robbed, and B, it was a human being. For the most part, I've seen some weird things happen. Especially if you're down in Tennessee, I saw bears breaking into cars. But anyways, you can say that a person, was the person responsible, that suspect, and I'm able to identify that person. With the Sasquatch, we don't know that it exists completely. We have these eyewitnesses that are coming forward. They're giving excellent, very detailed descriptions on what they saw. We're interviewing these people. I'm trained in interview and interrogation. I'm trained in the Reed method of interviewing. I'm very apt on finding deceptive behavior, and I have seen that in a few eyewitness encounters. But there's some that I have not. I did not see that this person was telling the truth. Now, the one thing is, again, you're looking at perception. Could it have been a bear walking on its hind legs, that the person saw something large, hairy, that was walking on two legs, that was about 7 feet tall? That's always a possibility. But if they're giving a detailed description and they're not showing these deceptive behaviors, and they're saying, listen, this thing had a cone-shaped head. It had shoulders, in a chest that had to be, at least 60 inches around, if not more. It had arms that went down, past the knees. I was able to see a face. I didn't see a snout. I saw a flattened nose. I saw, the graying skin. I saw eyes that, are in pretty much the same area that we are. It's things like that that really, open up our mind as to, there must be something strange out there in the woods that people are seeing. Again, we have no definitive proof on it right now.
Real quick, I don't mean to step on you, but I want to get this thought because we're still on this topic. Do you find that when you have a witness that has so much detail that it's actually concerning, that it raises doubt and credibility to you? When somebody just seems, you know what, man, they either really had the best, ability to digest and take in information so quickly, or they're really they're filling in their own blanks.
It's interesting because usually when people have these encounters, they're not they're usually, a lot of witnesses have some sort of trauma connected to seeing something like this, because they're not expecting to see a 7-foot hairy creature cross the road in front of them, or walk behind them when they're hiking in the woods. So there's some trauma, and usually when there's trauma, what we found is a lot of times with victims or witnesses, they will occasionally not remember specific identifiers, with say with a suspect. Was the person wearing a hat? I'm not sure. What was the person wearing? I'm not sure. And usually that has a lot to do with the trauma. And now when we do have somebody that comes in and says, "Oh, I even saw the wrinkles," it had this salt and pepper hair, and its hands went a certain way. Either they didn't experience a lot of trauma, or again, they could be filling in the blanks. But again, when we do talk to these people, again, we're giving them, we'll do some baseline questions to see, what their reactions are, and how they react to certain questions and how they answer them. And then when we do see that they're not giving deceptive behavior when they're describing it, again, it's we do run into that quite a bit.
There seems to be also a point too, again, sorry, didn't mean to step on anybody, that there, to your point, Matt, a sense of embellishment in order to make the picture bigger of the experience that the person had to be taken a little bit more seriously.
Sure.
And so there is a slight sense of embellishment of, well, instead of 5 feet tall, it was 8 feet tall.
I'll tell you my biggest, and I do keep an open mind, but one of my biggest complaints, I guess, about the Bigfoot community is the size of these things. And they'll, they always do the tree measurement, did it go up to this branch? And a lot of people, again, when you're in a fearful situation and you're seeing something that you've never seen before and you were told doesn't exist, and they see something peeking behind a tree or over by the tree, they're going to make it look a lot bigger than what it actually was. And yes, we're getting some big footprints, but really from some collective data that I'm getting is, especially in Pennsylvania, we're not looking at 8 or 9 foot tall creatures. We're looking at 6 to 7 foot tall creatures. And
we got the midget foot.
Yeah. Well, and again, we even have
little people.
The little people was at the Albert Witch, I think it's called. Yeah.
The Albert Witch. Yep.
So again, we're, I think when people come in, oh my God, it was 10 foot high. You look at that and you look at when people talk about bears, and I always use bears as a good example. I live in an area, granted, I could be sitting here right now and a bear can climb into my backyard because the mountain's right behind us and the bears are out all the time. But if no one's as familiar with the bears, they're going to think, oh my God, that bear that just, walked down the street, it has to be, 400, 500 pounds. Well, I saw the video, because on my Ring doorbell, where I saw the picture that the neighbor took, and you know what? That's only like a 150-pound bear. So when people will, especially when they're fearful of something, they're going to make it look bigger. They're going to make it seem, meaner than what it actually is.
I always use my own size in relationship to judging bear weight.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
So, I want to go back to your whole mini mart experience. So I used to work at a mini mart and got robbed.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 2-minute experience,
Yep.
and I can explain detailed what happened and things like that. So I tell the police what I remember. And then this is where
Wasn't to get WD-40 for your chair.
No, they were trying to. They were drunk and trying to steal from me, and they wanted smokes, and it's a whole thing. But they left. I explained how there was no weapon involved. This happened here, and then the police asked me follow-up questions. And then they CSI'd, basically, like there was a camera behind me. Hey, the door has a thing on it that says, hey, this is 6 feet, this is 7 feet, this is 4 feet. Which one did they fall in? What did they look like? What were they approximately wearing? This, and this. But and that's where I think sometimes we get, it's not as much you're being skeptical. You want to get the whole picture because they convict the guy, when they caught the guy at the next convenience store trying to rob that guy, which was like 10 minutes away from my store, my information made it easier for them to catch him while he was trying to do it to the next store. But the fact is that the police asking me the extra questions, checking to make sure I was saying things, saying what I thought, to look at the camera, to show, hey, you notice this tape is here. Some training I got as being an associate said, hey, by the way, if you're ever robbed, 1, don't fight them. 2, don't leave the store. 3, give them every, we had a list of rules, and that helped me, and I'll say survive the experience. And you have people that are seeing this thing, and they're not trained to see this thing. They don't have the base training I had, but also is sometimes they feel either ashamed or they're on edge when you start breaking down what they saw by questioning it. You're not questioning in a negative way. You're questioning it to understand. And if Forker has worked with me for years, and he knows on the other side of this coin how irritated people can get with me, I make questions to understand so that I can project it in my head properly and that we can have a real conversation because I understand, much like the other gentleman said, is I can't understand his sighting. But if he answers my questions and we have a real dialogue, I have a better chance of trying to empathize. And that's where I think the skepticism comes out in me multiple times where people go, well, you just don't believe it. I don't believe I have enough information to understand what you saw so that I can believe in you.
And that's a good point.
Jesus, you're on a roll tonight, Baker. I love it.
So the other thing too that James brought up too is when we're going in, we want to keep our questions open questions. We don't want to lead to a leading question such as, was it, are you sure it wasn't over 6 feet tall? Are you sure it wasn't, this or, where you're actually planting suggestions into the witness. And I do see a lot of researchers sometimes doing that. I've seen that on some YouTube videos, and all that's doing is just it's almost fabricating a new memory, basically for that person. If you like James, if the tape said that it was messed up and it was a 7 there instead of a 6. Would you? And they said it was up here at the 7, or can you confirm it was the 7? You would think that person was 7 feet tall,
right? Yeah. And also the fact is like when I had to go to court, the DA's like, I just want you to tell the story. And he's like, and I was like, don't you want to go over? I said, no, I don't want to taint what you're going to say. We know what you said in the incident. We know what he said. And honestly, I never had to go to court because they had so much evidence on this guy from the 3 different stores he robbed that his buddy turned him in because he was drunk and was just eating burritos, didn't realize what was going on. He was just hanging with his buddy. It's a whole story. I think I've told Forka this one, but
we'll save it for the Patreon. We'll talk about it the night Baker got robbed.
But the fact is, though, is that that is how it works. You know, with this kind of investigation. Like the other day, I'm mowing the lawn up at the land, and I see poop. And I didn't become a poop expert, but in a way, you know, you kind of like, okay, deer poop a certain way, rabbit poop a certain way. This was longer poop, and I'm like, okay, I have camera-wise seen bears. Mm-hmm. I've also seen cat-like creatures that could be a coyote or a bob, you know, something in our area. I'm not sure what the cats are in our, or it could just be a freaking cat. But it didn't look like, you know, and the neighbor occasionally watches his dog in my area. So then I looked at my cameras and I didn't see anything that coalesced with that. But the fact is like you look at your evidence and then you expand. Mm-hmm. Like if I have a track here, okay, here, then I want, if I can get my finger to work right, I have a track here. Okay, where's the food source? Where's the water source? Why would it be here? What's important that it happened to be traveling through here? All the little questions you would ask. Do you know what I mean? And as long as you can, that's where being scientifically skeptical is not hurting anyone. It's helping because that way then you can say, okay, it's a bear because I've got camera footage of a bear squatting in the woods and I got squat that could be bears, you know. But if you didn't try to figure out what it couldn't have been, then you could be like, oh, yeah, it's got to be a Sasquatch, you know. You're in the middle of an urban area with 40 cameras that didn't see anything, but you got a little piece of turd. That's got to be a Sasquatch. No, there's a guy that didn't use a baggie because he's a... You know?
Wow! Just wanting to go after your neighbor thing. Okay.
Well, listen. Now we're at the bottom of the hour, and I'm at the end of the show, guys. We got to do a part 2.
Yeah,
because we got point 2. We didn't even hit population size, habitat, and hoaxes yet, so we've got a whole nother.
If you don't mind, though, I do want to plug a Facebook group that me and Henry both belong to. I know some people don't like it, but
Coalition.
Yes,
gotta be.
Yes, and Steven Strufer, we got to get him on the show one of these days. Because again, he would be perfect for this. But it's the Coalition for Critical Thinking and Bigfoot Research. Steven Strufer runs a great group. And I've had some really good discussions on there with people that are 100% skeptics. And it's, there might be one or two, discussions that might get out of hand, but for the most part, Steven does a great job administering it. And he's just been, he's like a textbook skeptic, but, he's there in Willow Creek and, he has, people coming to him all the time. He's he does a lot of work out in Bluff Creek as well. So, like I said, that is an excellent group for skeptics and believers alike, and for some very decent discussion. And Henry, I think I'm hoping you agree with that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, I agree. It's a great group. I just want to leave us with one thing. As Thomas Steenberg always says, stick to the facts and never deviate from the facts.
Yep.
Oh,
we're going to end it on that.
Yep.
Oh, you're not going to claim that one, Larry? Hey, can you pop up the link to that? What you guys were talking about? That way, then people could follow it easier. Henry, I'm so mad with you.
We'll post it in the we'll put it in the show notes and on the Facebook promotions when we do the show. Folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in tonight. Our largest audience tonight, our live viewer, a majority on X, an expanding platform for us where we're being discovered and folks are listening. We thank you. Again, our Patreon for as little as $2 a month helps us, keeps us going, funds the studio, and helps support great research. I really enjoyed the conversation tonight, guys. You all were wonderful. Henry, take us out with that beautiful, beautiful phrase.
Y'all be good or be good at it.
And that's where we're at. We'll see you next week, folks.
You've been listening to Sasquatch Experience. Please rate and review where this podcast has been consumed. To share your experience, visit us on Facebook, our website, or email us info@sasquatchexperience.com. Keep on squatching.